Access more.
Well, hello and welcome back to Hey, It's the Luskos. This is your hostesses. These are your hosts. We are your hosts, Levi and Jenny Lusko.
Yes, it's so good to be back.
Welcome back, Jenny. How do you feel? Spring break?
Spring break. We just took some time.
Just took a minute.
Took as much time as we wanted.
We took April. We're glad to be back.
Yeah.
It's May. It's Cinco de Mayo. What a wonderful holiday.
It's a great holiday.
I never need an excuse to eat a taco, but I can get down with Mexican independence in the name of some guacamole anytime. So
anytime.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. Happy return of Hey, It's the Luskos. And the final few moments of my 30s. We are in it.
We're in it. It's the last
2
week.
days.
It's the last week of your 30s. And I'm excited for you to come on over to the 40s.
Turning 40 on Saturday. Joining my...
the water's nice.
Joining my lovely lady in the fourth decade. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And we have a great episode for you today. In a minute, we're going to have a conversation with Ginna Mason, who is a phenomenal singer, actress, performer, dancer. She spent 6 years of her life in the role and working towards the role in various ways of Glinda the Good Witch on Broadway, one of the most iconic roles really in theater today.
Yeah.
Around the country.
In Wicked. I know I still haven't seen it.
Stupid
You
good.
got to see it.
Very good, very good, very good. But she's amazing. Bright light, very, very dynamic. And I think don't tune it out if you're like, I'm not a Broadway person, I'm not an actress. I'm going to tell you, if you play sports, if you have to do intense sales meetings, or you have to in any way perform in any way, which is all of us. We have to show up in some way or another.
Yeah.
If you deal with nerves, if you get, anxiety performing or, whatever, I think about this for Livy with tennis and,
totally.
I think practicing like you want to perform and how to have a wild curveball thrown at you in the midst of an audition, look, we're all going to have to go in and have job interviews, get up in front of this group and give a little talk. Like, we all deal with that. So I think her story is really inspiring.
It's so inspiring and challenging and just so helpful. And she's such a sweetheart. You're just going to fall in love with her. She's amazing.
And she gives some very practical towards the end things that helped her. I mean, having to get up, when I watched Wicked on Broadway, I thought, first of all, how does anybody do that? I mean, they're up there, they're out there. They don't even wearing in-ears. They're just having to sing and perform and all that. But I mean, I've always loved the theater and from seeing, Cats as a little kid. We saw Spider-Man on Broadway together. I took Livy and saw Lion King. We've seen Hamilton multiple times. Anytime we have the chance to see something like that, it's just awesome.
Yeah.
I took Daisy to see the Christmas Story at Ford Theater where Lincoln got shot, and that was intense. They still have the booth exactly preserved as it was.
Oh my gosh.
Everything but the chair he was sitting in, which is for some reason in a museum in Detroit, because Henry Ford used to collect those kind of creepy things. It's still bloodstained and everything.
Oh my.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
That is weird.
At Henry Ford's museum in Detroit. But that's neither here nor there. It is inspiring to me to see people do something excellent.
Yes.
But the specific practical handles come in when she talks about having to do that 8 times a week. Matinees, she's only off Mondays. And to think about how to pace yourself, how to maintain energy, how to conserve, how to change your caloric needs to handle that kind of intensity.
Sacrifice,
The sacrifice. I've thought about that. Yeah, when we're out preaching, it's like you want to go out and hang out with people in that city, but it's like, no, I need to be on tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So how do I prioritize rest? So there's a lot of different things that you don't have to be a Broadway actress for this to
encourage you and help you. Yes.
Really good. Before we jump into the conversation, do you want to just throw out there, we're moving towards our movement conference. Jenny and I are both inviting anybody that wants to bring a group out to our youth conference this summer.
June, July, August.
August 4th through the 7th, Movement Conference 2022. Got a great lineup. Tim Tebow, Demi Tebow, Carrie Job, Cody Carnes, Crowder's going to be there. We're going to be speaking, and we're inviting youth groups from all across the country to come out and join us. You can tent camp, you can use a hotel block, you can do whatever you want. But morning and evening sessions, get your group registered. Get a group of youth together. Get your kid and all their friends and come on out.
It's going to be really special.
We think God's going to move in power in these days.
Under the big sky.
Under the big Sky, the
Movement
Flathead Valley.
Conference.com.
August in Montana is just stupid. I think it's mvmnt2022.com. But we invite you out for that. And so without further ado, please enjoy this conversation with Ginna Claire Mason. Okay, that is such a good question. First of all, let us officially welcome you to Hey, It's Luskos. As a return visit, this is Ginna Claire coming back. Even though people are wondering, like, wait, when was Ginna Claire on the first time? And that answer belongs to the Lord. Only God knows.
Only God knows.
We had a swing and a miss on our first attempt at this conversation, which just means we weren't ready yet.
No, I will go ahead and take full responsibility because you guys were awesome and wonderful and perfect. And I still had such a good time talking to you. But we had one technical difficulty after another. It was the mic, and then it was the internet, and then it was the sound. And
then it was the computer, I think. But we did get to see the baby. We got to see Cooper and Eric real briefly. We saw Eric from the chest down because he just came by in the background.
He's my unofficial technical support, right? Everybody needs that in this Zoom virtual era.
And then he had to leave, but we were checking with neighbors to watch Cooper. There was a lot of things that went on.
It was very exciting. We really tried to make it work, and we said, you know what?
We tried so hard.
I think we need to do this later.
Yes.
But it was a fun first visit.
It's going to be perfect when we get to it, and this is what we're here for. So the question about tea and coffee is a good one.
That is a really good question.
So coffee for me starts, because my lovely wife this morning, I wake up, I had just gotten back from a trip last night late, so there was a hot pot of coffee on the counter when I wake up, just like a good wife would, and she was gone, but it was hot already, so I was so thankful for that, because the minutes between awake and having coffee are very long, you know? Are you that way?
Absolutely. When I was doing the show, a musical, I would sleep in later than my husband, but I would wake up and there would be the hot pot of coffee, and I would say it's like his love note to me in the morning.
That's
just
so
waiting.
Sweet.
Are you French press people?
We are. So we use a kind of French press that I'm a big fan of. It's called an Espro press. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
No.
So it looks exactly like a French press. The differences are 3. Number 1, it is double walled. So you have an air void, so it keeps coffee hot for like 4 hours. Number 2, it has 2 filters, not 1. It's not just one mesh filter like a French press. It's got 2 micro filters that go within each other. So pushing it down is pretty hard. But then number 3, you use a finer grind. Normally a French press is a coarse ground. This is more fine, like you would use for a pour over. So what you tend to get is more the nuances of the bean. It doesn't come across like a French press where it at times can be silty, not Turkish, but almost a little bit like I'm getting some grit. But you get more the mouthfeel of a pour over. So big fans of the Espro press. You didn't
know, but now you know.
You are obviously a coffee connoisseur, and the whole reason I asked about the French press is because that is the French press that I have, and I love it, and I was going to tell you about it.
Which kind do you have the Espro press?
You already know the good news about the Espro press.
Wow, you just preached the gospel to a believer already.
You're like, Levi, I'm already saved. I already got to know Jesus. I don't need to know about your coffee pot.
I love that so much.
The thermos aspect, though, is my favorite, that it stays warm for so long. Thus, the love note, even if I sleep in, it's still hot when I wake up.
I'm not waking up to cold coffee. Now, what grinder do you use with it? That's a big question. Next level.
We have one, and it's great, and I don't know the brand, but it's upstairs. I'm going to text you after and tell you guys the good news about my grinder.
Do you like it? Can you change the setting on it pretty well?
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
It's pretty good. You have one you like, though. Tell me. You want to tell me?
Any burr grinder's good. You want a burr. You don't want a blade. If you're using a grinder with a blade, it's not good because that generates heat. And heat changes the flavor profile. Of course, it's a chemical reaction. So you want a burr grinder, which puts the beans through ceramic burrs. And that changes. You can change if you can change your setting, it's probably not a blade grinder. It's probably a burr grinder. I really favor one by a company called Barazza. It's an Italian company. It's an Encore.
That's what we have. That's what we have.
Okay, great. So that's the one you'll see at a lot of the third wave coffee shops. They sell. It's a great machine. They sell it at Blue Bottle.
I love Blue Bottle. You and my husband need to hang out and talk about coffee. He didn't drink coffee until he was like in his early 30s and he got into intermittent fasting.
Oh,
and then he was like, I should try this coffee thing. And then now he's
Well, I want to interview your coffee, your husband, your coffee. I want to interview your coffee. Just as Ginna Claire's coffee, everybody. Talk to me about what it's like to be drank by a star. No, I want to interview Eric because he used to be an air traffic controller.
Whoa.
And now he's a pilot. Ooh, he's on the other side of it.
Pilot.
He knows what it's like to talk. He's like, he can empathize with the air traffic controller guys. He's like, I was one of you once.
Gosh.
Yeah, he told me last night he's actually he should be in the sky as we speak. He is in the sky.
Wow.
And he was flying into an airport last night, and last minute they had to turn around because there was something that was going on with the runway and like circle around the airport. Not turn around, but circle around, I guess.
Yep.
And I said,
holding pattern, they call it, as it were.
Right. And I said, was this air traffic control's fault? Did you ever have to do that as an air traffic controller? And it is cool that he's gotten to be on.
Stack 'em and rack 'em, boys. I'm quoting from Die Hard. Stack 'em and rack 'em.
That's really cool. That's amazing. Okay, so back to coffee. You were asking, do we like drink
Switch.
coffee for a certain amount of time? So here's my I can get up in the morning and not need coffee. And actually most of the time I'll wake up, I'll make Levi's coffee, and then I'll either make my own. Like I like decaf with oat milk in it, or I'll just have tea. But I don't really need coffee in the morning, so I'll kind of just drink whatever. But I like coffee. But then for you switch at some point.
Yes. So she uses an espresso, which we have for single-use decafs and guests over, and then she makes the little latte. She doesn't drink my coffee, which is fine. It leaves more for me. I am usually like I'll drink that whole Espresso. We have the 32-ounce version. Which size do you have? 32?
It's 32. It's black. What color do you have?
Ooh, black. I haven't seen that. Sexy coffee pot. No.
Yeah.
We have the silver. Have you had to change your filter? Because after a while, the filters do get kind of like a year or two. It
We
kinda gunked up.
haven't, but I wonder, you were talking about the difficulty. It feels like an upper body workout, pressing it down.
And it gets
It's like
worse as time goes on.
So I wonder if it's because we need a new filter. Is
They
that
get kind
why?
of clogged. Well, I read there's a Reddit forum on it that says if you soak it in a solution of water and vinegar, you can clear
Okay.
out the gunk. But, it is the nature of things to decompose. It's entropy, second law of thermodynamics. It's
I
fine.
have a hard time pushing it down in the morning.
I feel like,
It's because you're really strong.
wow, you don't even know your own strength.
I don't even know my own strength.
Jenny is training for a half marathon. Maybe all that running has gotten to you,
On my arm.
all your arm running.
It's this action, yeah.
But I had to switch. I had to start switching up about 2 o'clock, unless I have no thing to do the next morning. If I'm having caffeine 3, 4 in the day, I tend to not sleep well, because I'm an old man now. So I switch to decaf tea after lunch usually.
What tea?
That's a great question, Ginna Claire. Jenny has a favorite tea that she's about to turn you on to. It's a Trader Joe's purchase.
No.
Wait, I thought it's called Sweet and Spicy.
Yeah, but it's not Trader Joe's.
Where do you get it?
Anywhere.
Okay. Have you heard of Sweet and Spicy?
It's called Good Earth Sweet and Spicy, and it's
Okay.
like you don't have to add any
You don't have to add anything to it because it already, but no sugar.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Have you tried Bengal spice? I think it's probably the same sort of. It doesn't need
Probably.
sweetener.
I think I
and
have
it's sort
tried
of
that.
spicy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you some Bengal spice, and I'll try the sweet and spicy.
Okay,
too.
we'll trade tea. Our tea will trade in the air. Yeah, gosh, I would think air traffic control. We're going to get on to Glinda and all the things Broadway in a minute, but I want to talk about
Will we?
how
We might
stressful-
just talk about coffee the whole time.
how stressful of a job I feel like. Does Eric still have like panic attacks every once in a while thinking about 1,000 planes in the sky? And because when you see what an air traffic controller does and the stress involved in that,
Gives me the shivers.
like I don't know if have you ever seen footage of all the planes over America sped up in a day? You watch all those things go by.
No.
If you
but that
if you
sounds
just Google
very
like
cool.
time lapse footage of air traffic over America and see all the planes coming and going, they speed up a day. I mean, it is astounding to watch this footage of what they would see in a screen.
Wow, that is really cool. I will go check that out after we chat. I feel like what's interesting about the air traffic control tower is that things are either really stressful, like on Thanksgiving, Or there's like nothing happening. At least the airports where he worked, both of them were slower
He was in
airports.
Binghamton, New York.
Binghamton and then Westchester, New York. Yeah. And so those are slower airports than like JFK.
Oh, can you imagine?
LaGuardia.
That's what they call the show. Yeah, being the JFK or Atlanta air traffic controller.
I didn't know that.
No,
the show?
I'm just saying, like within certain realms, like in Elf, he says being a elf for Santa as opposed to being like a tree elf making cookies. He says we call that the show. Like it's like the ultimate of being an elf.
Right, exactly. It's like the Broadway of air traffic control.
Like, wouldn't it be great if the air traffic controllers like referred to certain cities like in that kind of language? Like, oh yeah, that's the show. Like, pour a cigarette later.
My
like,
gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so when you and your husband met, was he in air traffic control and you were acting?
We were both in school.
It's a good story, actually.
But we were hopefully we both wanted to do those things. But I was in school I was getting a BFA in musical theater, like you do when you'd like to sing and act and dance professionally, or not. There's plenty of people who went and got like business degrees and they're like, actually, Broadway.
I'm accidentally awesome at this. Yes.
And then Eric was in school in Denver at Metro State doing aviation science.
Wow. And
which
where did
sounded
you go
really
to school?
fancy to me. I went to Elon. It's in North Carolina.
Okay.
Because you're from Tennessee originally.
Nashville native. Oh, yeah. Have y'all spent any time in Nashville?
Good little
A little
bit.
bit, yeah.
You can't be in Christian publishing without going to Nashville every once in a while. That's where all the book
Absolutely.
publishers are at. Yeah.
Right. They picked a good city.
So you both went to college for those things, and then when did you get married?
After I graduated college.
And
Tell the story of how you met, though. It is a good story.
Yes. Please.
So it was summer after my freshman year of college. My Bible study leader, who I thought the world of her. She's the bee's knees, Becca. I was going to do a summer stock theater. Summer stock is like when you go work at a regional theater somewhere in the country in the summer. And I was doing Thoroughly Modern Millie. Have you ever seen that show, guys?
No.
Oh, it's a good one. Maybe I'll send you like a YouTube clip from the Tony Awards when they performed many, many years ago. But I was doing that in Ohio, close by to where she lived, and I went to church with her and her family that first summer, or that first Sunday that I was in town, and met her big brother.
Oh my gosh.
And then we dated sort of through college, long distance, which was wild. We were on different sides of the country.
Now, did he know he wanted to be a pilot ultimately, or did he have his sights set on air traffic control originally?
No, but wait, this is so cool. Hold on 1 second.
And off she goes, out of the curtain. This is high drama.
Okay.
This is a Hates Luskos first.
How do you know?
This is worth it.
This is so dramatic, though, the way you came and went from the curtain. I feel like it's very Ginna Claire of you. Yes.
So he did not know he wanted to be a pilot, but his dad was a pilot. So he thought he wanted to be an air traffic controller. And then
so he could tell his dad what to do.
Exactly.
Freud.
Exactly.
Freud would have a lot to say about that. I'm going to be your boss one day, Dad.
Absolutely. When we were home a couple years ago, though, and he'd already decided to make the switch, his mom found this in a box.
What is it? When I grow up,
I am a pilot.
Wow. And it's got a beautiful picture of a plane and then a red dog sticker.
And it looks like flames. It looks like flames coming out of the back.
The plane may be on fire.
The plane might be on fire. But I love that it says I will be a pilot. It says when I grow up, I am a pilot.
Wow, take that. Okay, so you and your husband are cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
Because that is very Ginna Claire. So Eric's like, I am a pilot. You went and saw Glinda on Broadway, watched Wicked on Broadway for the first time, and you told your parents, when I grow up, I am Glinda.
I am Glinda.
And I love your dad's response. Your dad's response back was?
You and every other little girl.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Father
Dad.
of the year. But it's actually kind of
But he is.
awesome that he said that. And I love your dad. I got to go to see you perform and sit with your parents and experience that with them,
Lucky.
which was, I think, their 9,000th time watching you, be a part of this. And yet they were like, more excited than if they had never seen it before. You could have told me they had never seen you do this before, and I would have believed you because they were that excited,
Wow.
and they were that jaded about the price of the concessions. I was like, "You gonna get us something to eat before the show?" He was like, "Are you kidding me? They charge an arm and a leg over there. I'm not. I'll wait with you in line, but I'm not buying nothing here." Which I was like, "This is just so good. All of this is happening."
Good.
I love the dad voice you just put on there.
Yeah,
And I love that you got to meet my parents. That was so sweet. We were
really
just
sweet.
in the ticket line getting cards checked and going in the door, which it was fun to hang out with you guys. And yeah, thanks for being so nice to my mom and dad.
you were waiting in line with us for your own show. It was so fun, right on Broadway. And what a time. I happened to be in the city the same time that Broadway had reopened. You guys had gone dark for, how many months was it shut for?
18 months. And I calculated it. I remember it was 500 days, I want to say, between the last performance pre-shutdown.
Which is like March
and
11th,
the first
right?
day of rehearsals. Yes, March 12th, 2020. So
500
crazy.
days. You
500
couldn't
days.
you couldn't be Glinda. No one's coming to Broadway.
No one was coming to Broadway. Turns out I'm not an essential worker.
Right.
So
And yet, they probably should have kept it going just to keep morale up. But
Yeah.
you
can't have people in the room. But did you guys do any stuff for
show
online?
up on Zoom to sing and dance?
Now
I ended up
pivoted,
teaching.
right? Yeah.
I ended up. My best friend and I started an online teaching school for music theater hopefuls, which was really cool to, work with people from all over the world. But also, we weren't the only ones who were sad about theater not. People were sad about a lot of things, but theater wasn't happening. And so a lot of people's community shows had been canceled, or summer stock shows had been canceled, or even just like drama camps or, school period. You're not getting to perform. And I think artists are resilient and creative, even in the face of hardship, or especially in the face of hardship. And so getting to sort of tell stories and explore our craft in the Zoom room was challenging and exciting, and I definitely changed me as a performer to get to work with all these people. So
and I love
was
that
fun.
to be in a hard place, but to be thinking of others and to be teaching and to be sharing what you've learned, like that. That's what it means to really live and to be a believer and to share what God's done, to share what you've learned with people in the midst of hardship. Like that's what it's all about. And that's really powerful.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. Maybe, I don't know if y'all experienced this during the pandemic, but like learning fatigue. But like, I didn't go to school to be a teacher. I didn't go to school to be an entrepreneur or a business person or an accountant or a technical engineer.
Yeah, because your husband was in essential services. He was still working.
Right.
So you were at home, I imagine, during that time. Well, he was at that point he a pilot yet, or was he still in ATC?
He was training. He was getting his hours, and he was training other students. And then he started working for a private airline, because thankfully, you have to earn a certain number of hours before you can be a commercial pilot, which we love. We love that. We love that our commercial pilots are experienced.
Yes.
You don't want your pilot on Delta being like, well, this is my first landing. We're going to see how this goes.
So right now, he did his first commercial flight last week.
Wow.
And as the co-pilot, I was having him practice, what he was going to say over the intercom. I have a funny voice memo of it, but he, this is my first time flying. I'll be landing the plane today. Roger, over. I was like, you should totally say that.
I will say it goes so far when pilots and flight attendants alike have humor and are human
Right.
Yes.
and are not robotic. We just had a flight the other day, the guy like went off on the engines. He's like, and just so you know, every engine on this plane produces however many thousands of pounds of thrust and was manufactured here. And it was like, all of us, you just watch people pull their headphones off. They're like, this isn't normal. And he was being funny and silly about it. And like, and I love when they're like, and we're going to go over the Grand Canyon. So on the left side of the plane, like, I just think anything that disrupts from the script, all of a sudden everyone can go, oh, this is cool. This is not normal, you know?
A flight and a tour?
2 for the price of 1. And I imagine that a lot of people felt that way too. You know, were there any great moments from the Zoom school when you were doing that? Like, because obviously you're pouring it back. You're seeing like the next Ginna Claire, you know, probably wanted to be on there, but were there any kind of special moments at all that you can recall?
Too many to name. But the gal who I have actually like all my Wicked art from people up here, but the gal who I was teaching with is Mary Kate Morrissey, and she was my Elphaba for a whole year on tour. So Glinda and Elphaba, as you know, at the end of the show get to have their final bow together, and getting to play best friends and be best friends, that final bow was always really special. And I think our real life friendship sort of shone through in our onstage relationship to audience members, and people loved that, and I loved that. But always when we were doing recitals and when students would have breakthroughs, we'd always say, this feels like the final bow, but better. Wow. And I think, too, it's been really special. Mary Kate's on tour right now with Mean Girls all over the country. And then since Broadway reopened, getting to meet all of our students in real life, these kids, these like incredibly talented performers who we've spent hours and hours with over the course of a year and a half online to get to hug these people in real life, and you know, and to have them come see on stage what you were teaching in the Zoom room. Gosh. To be like, all right, I gotta be on top of it in my song interpretation, and who are you talking to, and what do you want, and what is your obstacle, and all the things that we talked about. I'm gonna try to do my best for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I think
that's really sweet.
That I wanted to come back to your dad, and the statement, you and every other girl in the country, right? I
feel like I need to cut him some slack too, because he did go on to drive me to all the dance classes.
Of course. No, I think there's a tension here, and I think it's an important one, because what he was doing was somewhat tempering your expectations, while at the same time he was taking you to theater. So he was exposing you to a bigger world. He did drive you. He's the college, all the things. And again, I watched your dad be there for the 500th time to watch you, and your mom as well. But there was a sense in which it was like, hey, I think what it did was it kind of forced you to be at a place where if you were going to get it, you had to actually want it. It wasn't going to come easy to you. He was, I think that's kind of a really important cocktail.
At 100%. I do think a lot of this industry is dealing with rejection. Like, your full-time job is auditioning, and auditioning well. Wow. And if you can see auditioning as your chance to perform and not something that is nerve-wracking, it's like, oh, I get to do this thing that I love. And yes, people are judging me and assessing me, but if you could just have fun with it and realize that for that moment, you're playing that part is yours for that moment. But oh my gosh, so much, mostly no. And then every once in a while, hopefully a yes. And so I do think, people are always like, oh, I bet you were the lead growing. No, I never had a single lead role growing up, like in middle school or high school. But I think that was evidence to me that like, oh, no matter the part I'm playing, I just really love to do this. Also, who was I to think that I could actually go on and play this big role if I couldn't even like get Maria in The Sound of Music? I was nun number 12. So
nun number 12.
But if you really love it and it's really what you want to do,
yeah.
But to also know it's going to be a slugfest. It's going to be a grind. It's going to be a fight. I mean, I love to. I've heard you tell the story, and I love to go back there because obviously you go to college, you get that degree, you take your summer, of obscurity, going off to the sticks to do this role. You thankfully met a husband out of it, so not all not all bad. But finding beauty in the obscurity, finding purpose and assignment in intentionality, and putting your whole heart into something that very few people are seeing, right?
Right.
But how thankful are you for those seasons, those chapters, those,
Oh, I mean, there's people, because I tried to do summer stock every year of college, but those people are still friends and loved ones and colleagues, because the musical theater world is a small one. So like one of the guys that I met at summer stock summer after my freshman year, he is now the music director of Wicked on Broadway.
Oh my gosh.
So it all comes around. But no, I'm so grateful for those experiences, and for young performers, I always encourage them to get as much experience as possible, especially in college, because when you're going out into the real world, the real world, in the streets of Manhattan. Having that experience will serve you, not only experience as a performer, but as an apprentice at, there was this one regional theater I really loved in North Carolina called Flat Rock Playhouse. I got to work on the lighting department, and I got to work with wardrobe, and I got to work with props and marketing and electrics briefly. But it makes you appreciate every aspect, every job that goes into making a production possible.
Well, I would imagine there's some sense of also kindness to everybody along the way, regardless of who or what or how they are, because you might meet these people in critical roles down the road that you're not expecting to.
Oh, absolutely. And, at a big Broadway show, there might be twice as many people off stage as there are on stage, making everything run from, lights to ushers to stage management to props, everything.
Right.
So there's a whole other show going on backstage.
Absolutely. So when your dad said that to you, what was your reaction? Like, did you say anything back, or what went through your mind? Like, was it discouraging, or was it more like, oh no, I'm gonna do this?
Levi, maybe you realize from spending any amount of time with my dad, but he is the funniest person I've ever met. Legit, I think he's hilarious. No one can make me laugh harder than my dad. So I think I was kind of like, oh, Dad. But no, I don't think it deterred me at all.
And you said the same thing about being on The Tonight Show, which he was telling me. And it was so funny that week I was there.
Yeah.
You were literally about to perform on Fallon's Tonight Show.
Oh, my gosh.
And there had been a similar full circle thing to tell that story as well.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I would stay up late sometimes and have chocolate milkshakes or party ice cream, which is when you get ice cream and you put every topping that you can imagine on it. Oof. And watch late night shows with him. And I was like, someday, Dad, I'm going to be on a late night show and you're going to come with me. Then there was a global pandemic and nobody was in the audience, but that was fun. I got to do Jimmy Fallon, which was really, really
Which
cool.
you guys did great. That was you and Mary Kate as well.
That was my friend Lindsay Heather Pierce. Yeah.
Lindsay was the alphabet that I saw.
Yeah. She's awesome.
Yeah, Lindsay Pierce. Okay, yeah, she's very cool.
Okay,
and we did like a Wizard and I popular mashup.
She's the one in green who you normally think of. Right? No. Yeah, she is in green, right?
Oh, yeah. She's green.
Yeah.
She's all green. She has green skin.
Yep. There you go.
So what was that like?
She was born green.
She was born green. What was that like doing Jimmy Fallon? Did it feel, there weren't people in the room, you said?
It was crazy. Well, there was a ton of people in the room, but not audience members. All
cast
people.
and crew.
Right. Jimmy wasn't there, which was a bummer.
Because they take you earlier in the day than he, but you would never know that because when he introduced you guys, it was like you were there.
Right.
When we watched it at home, to the uninitiated viewers at home, we would never have known you weren't in the room with him.
Right.
Movie
all
magic.
In edits.
Movie magic.
Absolutely. It was cool. Jennifer Aniston was a guest that night too. So that episode is like, Jennifer Aniston and Lindsay Heather Pierce and Jenna Claire Mason. It's like, yeah. We're all friends.
Us three.
And
is what it is. Man, she's so good on, by the way, she's so good on that morning show. Isn't the morning show that she's on?
Yeah.
Steve Carell.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Are you current? Did you see it all?
I have only watched through season 1. Do I need to keep going?
I'm not saying anything more.
Okay.
It gets intense in Italy, is all I will say.
Oh, ooh. Well, season 1 got intense too. Okay. I will thank you for that urging.
Little kick in the pants.
I needed that kick in the pants. I'm going to go check out some more Jennifer Aniston. She really is a phenomenal actress.
Yeah.
So I was really nervous to do Jimmy Fallon, but excited. And it was really cool because our music director was there and he brought a number, I think we have 26 people in the orchestra at Wicked, but they brought, I want to say like 8 to 10 people. I need to go back and count now, to come film with us. So that was cool to have live music there with us and just sort of that support too. It was cool too because we got a couple of goes at it. They filmed us twice through. But it was fun. And Lindsay was on fire. And it was early too. I mean, I'm sure she'd played Elphaba the night before and had to go do it again later that day. Yeah. And so we went to her apartment afterwards and drank matcha and took a nap. And we were like, all right, let's go do Wicked.
Wow, because you had to perform that night. Jeez.
That's incredible.
You also did the Thanksgiving Day Parade, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade this year. What a bucket list that must have felt like.
Wow. Right. That was very cool. That was very cold.
Ooh, everyone looks freezing out there when we're watching on TV.
It was chilly. And if you look back, it was a really fabulous number called One Short Day in the Emerald City. And most people have sleeves on and pants. And I'm in this, little yellow halter dress.
Yes.
Just not super,
Were you off camp like with a big old puffer and then the second you ran on?
100%.
Yeah. Did you have to do the day before? I heard that they do a whole dress rehearsal the day before for Macy's Day Parade. They shut down the streets and everything.
It's crazy. It's not a dress rehearsal though. Like you're not in costume. We're just in our coats and scarves and hats. But we go, I think it was Monday night, we went and so if Thanksgiving was Thursday and we performed a few nights prior, we went, because that's our only night off. And they do the rehearsal, they do it at night.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah, it was cool.
Were you more nervous doing that or Jimmy Fallon?
That's a good question. I think maybe think the Thanksgiving Day Parade because it was live.
And you got to think, 100 million people are watching or something absurd like that?
Right. Yeah, maybe that.
You're like, now that you've mentioned
now
it.
that I think about it.
Well, I know we were eating cinnamon rolls and watching you. We were cheering you on.
Right.
Torrin Wells was on that too. Did you get to see Torrin, by the way?
No, I didn't.
He was like 7 floats past after your piece.
Okay, I'll have to go back and watch.
He was on a Cracker Barrel float of all things.
Yes.
Yeah, which is like,
that's
giddy
amazing.
up.
I like the root beer sticks from Cracker Barrel. Have you had, they have like the
like honey,
candy.
The honey straws, but the root beer stick?
It's like a candy cane, but without the cane, just a stick. And if you go into Cracker Barrel, they have like 50 different flavors.
Well, I do love playing games that involve golf little pegs. So, Cracker Barrel.
Okay, so I have a question. So you mentioned a little bit ago being nervous and excited at the same time. And when I'm sure you have that feeling often where you feel nervous but also excited, but you go for it anyway. Like, how do you deal with that feeling, and how do you let it lead you into what you're doing? Because that feeling is so intense, the excited, nervous feeling, and doing it anyway.
That you group those together, because I think it is so similar. The feeling you get when you're excited, maybe sweaty palms, maybe some jitters, maybe some tinglies in your tummy. That's very similar to nervousness. So it was actually something we talked to our students about a lot. Instead of telling yourself, I feel nervous, I'm so nervous, I'm so nervous. What if you told yourself, I'm so excited to get the chance to do what I love. I'm so excited to get the chance to sing. I'm so excited to share my gift with my family, if it was before a recital. So I had someone tell me, in sort of like grounding myself for auditions, just to wiggle my toes in my shoes and feel the ground beneath my feet. So that was something that I would always, say a prayer up in the bubble, since I had a moment to myself there before the opening would start. But I'd always wiggle my toes in my shoes and pretend like I was on the ground, even though I was actually 35 feet in the air.
Gosh.
Wearing a harness and a very bedazzled dress.
Right, exactly. But there is something wild about once you're up on the bubble, there's no like stop button. There's no like there's nothing you can pull. It's like it's going. So I do remember that when I was opening on Broadway for the first time, the bubble started moving and feeling like there's no stopping now. We're going.
And you're going to be singing the next 26 songs or whatever it is.
Gosh.
It feels like getting shot out of a cannon, but in a bubble.
Okay, that's good. So let's freeze on that image. Okay, and I saw that with my own eyes. Gershwin Theater, one of the biggest, right, theaters on Broadway, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. It holds more people than any other Broadway theater. Radio City is 6,000 people, but that's not a
It's
Broadway
different.
theater,
That's
but,
Rockettes, which we do need to talk about, by the way. Speaking of those Rockettes and their leg kicks, you just, it was announced, are going to be in a Christmas spectacular that Hallmark's putting on that involves the Rockettes. Are we allowed to talk about this?
Yes, we can. It's exciting because it's public now. I remember when we were rescheduling, I was like, I really want to do this. I'm in callbacks for this. I was talking to Mackenzie. I was like, I'm in callbacks for this movie that might be happening.
Yeah.
And then I got it, which was really exciting. I ended up leaving Wicked a couple weeks early to go film this movie. And it was really wild, too, because it was right after Christmas. So it felt like we got to just stretch out the Christmas season.
Oh, my goodness.
But it takes place. Are you familiar with the actress Anne Margaret?
No.
Oh no, she's like a Hollywood legend. But the premise is that she's sort of looking back on her journey to be a Rockette. So I play this gal who's sort of really upper class Philadelphia socialite who's in this arranged engagement, and she runs away to New York under the guise of designing a wedding dress, but really she auditions to be a Rockette. Spoiler alert. There's a lot of high kicking in her future. But it's really fun because it's a period piece. I love that it takes place in the 50s.
Wow.
And I've always loved the Rockettes, even when I did the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, walking past them and just being like, in awe.
Wow. Was it hard to learn how to kick like them, or did you already know?
We got to dance with them some, but I mean, that takes years of training, and I'm sure there will be some editing magic that happens. But
did you have a leg double?
I did get to.
It's like you superimposed on someone else's legs.
They did say at one point, like, because they did some big routines that I came in and got plugged in some things the day before, but they did some big spectacular production numbers that it wouldn't have been possible for me to learn or get plugged into, me and some of the other actors. And I grew up dancing, but I have not danced like that in a long time.
Yeah.
Right. But when they talked about a body double, I was like, Kathleen, can you put me on her? Because she's amazing.
Did they do the cannon scene? When I took Daisy and Livy to see it, that scene blew all of our minds. I
will send you a picture. I will send you a top secret photo.
Okay.
Wooden Soldiers is what it's called.
Wooden Soldiers.
Yes.
That is insane. It's hard to believe it's happening in front of you when you watch it.
Right.
Well, congratulations.
Yes.
How will people be able to watch that?
Thank you. That is a Hallmark Christmas movie coming out Christmas 2022. And speaking of nervous excited, I feel very nervous excited
for the acting. So there's a different gear probably, because you weren't just singing. You're obviously just actually acting too, right?
It was film and TV is a totally different ballgame than live theater. Obviously, you're still doing the thing, you're still acting, but it really is a totally different medium and craft. And I was just a sponge. I learned so much. And what we were talking about with how everyone has a job, I was just in awe of everything. It's such a technical craft. It's the audience is the camera lens, so it's all about the angles and it's all about the lighting, and I think visually it's going to be so beautiful with the Rockettes and the radio. I got to dance on stage at Radio City, which really was,
oh my gosh,
I mean, that's bucket list.
Bucket list. Dancing on stage at Radio City with the Rockettes,
and that gives you your SAG card now, right?
I think I am SAG eligible. Yeah.
That's exciting. So is this the future? Are we actress Ginna Claire now?
I hope so. Yeah, it'd be fun.
That's so cool. Okay, so you are you're just getting to talk to you. Like, you're so positive and you have just a upbeat outlook on life. It seems like whatever you've gotten to do in your life, you've just loved it and wanted to do it no matter what the role. Even just you saying, I was a sponge, I was learning everything. Like, was there ever a time in all the years from that moment where you knew you wanted it to now where there was like a time where you were just like, I don't know if I can do this, or this is really hard, or you were rejected, and it was like, what was that? Did you experience that, and what was that like?
Totally. I mean, to say I wasn't disappointed to not get leads in high school was definitely...
None number 12 was not the aspiration.
None number 12.
What are you going out for today? None number 12. You fool. You could go for 11 at least. Yes.
I was the bot. It was literally the last person. Nashville though, large talent pool. I mean, it was a lot of awesome kids that I got to grow up and do fine arts with, which I'm grateful for.
Wow.
But when I was 16, I was doing an intensive at Nashville Ballet, and I shattered my kneecap. And that was definitely, that was not great.
Yeah.
Not great for someone who wants to sing and dance on Broadway. The thorn in my side, if you will forever be my knee. And it's just been a lot of TLC. And then actually I was in a dance recital a couple years later, and I was dancing on point to Popular. Oh, the irony of it all. And I broke it again. So I broke my knee twice, and I've had a few surgeries, and
dancing and a kneecap shatters. How does that feel? What is that? Were you on toes? Were you on your toes?
It felt awesome.
But did you know? Or is it like, wait, what's that?
Yeah. I knew. I'm hypermobile. I think I have a great uncle that was a contortionist, is what I've been told. But my kneecap dislocated. Fast forward if you get queasy with this kind of stuff. But my kneecap dislocated, and then it hit my femur, and then it broke into pieces. Oh. So it was actually like the hypermobility that made it sublux, and so that was how it happened. And so then I had a tibial tubercle transfer, which basically means they move the bones and they put screws in, because they're like, this kneecap, it's not going anywhere. So
how long was the recovery each time for that?
Wow.
Long, but I would say it was 6 months, 6 to 12. I mean, I've never fully recovered, to be honest.
Oh, man.
I was always on the train on the way home after Wicked with like a giant ice pack, because I have to ice after every show. So it's physical therapy and ice. And
if the ghost of Christmas Future could have visited you in your rehabilitation and physical therapy appointments and said, don't worry, one day you're going to be dancing with the Rockettes on Radio City, you probably would not have believed her.
Wow. No, absolutely not. I wouldn't have. But especially the first time it happened when I was 16, I went from dancing 24 hours a week to not being able to dance at all. And I had just met this girl at Young Life Camp who was doing opera lessons at Vanderbilt University. And my mom had gone to Vanderbilt, and I was like, maybe I could do that. And it was cool because I couldn't dance at all. And so I started focusing more on my vocal training. Wow. And that definitely has served me.
Yes.
No, that definitely helped prepare me for college auditions. And so it was cool that window of opportunity sort of allowed me to do something different and focus on a different aspect.
Were there dark moments in that where you maybe thought you were never do it again? Because obviously that's a powerful thing. Because I guarantee you someone's listening going, I'm in the crap part right now. I'm in this hard part. My knee shattered, whatever it is. Yeah. And so to say, well, look, I can't do that, but I'm going to focus on my voice. I can't do that, but I'm going to, as opposed to just sitting in the discouragement and maybe throwing your hands up. That's huge.
Yeah. I think the first time it happened, it was really disappointing, but I don't think I realized how bad it was going to be, which maybe that's for the best. I think it was more devastating the second time it happened, because I knew how
what you were
bad it
in
was.
For.
Yeah. And I knew the recovery, because my head went to what was ahead immediately. So that was incredibly discouraging. And I had so many encouraging teachers, to be clear, but there was definitely someone who was like, yeah, now you can never be on Broadway.
Ooh.
Which I was like, oh,
that sounds like a challenge.
No, I'm still going to do that.
I think that's good for you, though. Some of that is that you need that to pour in there as fuel a little bit, right?
Totally. I have 3 brothers. I'm not particular. I'm like pretty sensitive. I'm not particularly tough, but like any toughness that was dealt to me in the form of a comment like that growing up, I probably needed it. Character building, but so that was hard, but you know, we got past it.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting too, it makes me feel like maybe that I can't tell you what their own experience was, but being in the performing world, everybody has something they're dealing with.
Totally.
You know, whether it's a tweaked, you know, a bulging disc or narcolepsy. No, I don't know. Probably
a kneecap that's prone to shattering. I mean, you see people that you're jealous of, and you not realize what they're carrying, right?
Right. Everybody has, you know, there's reasons that every show has a physical therapist on staff. It's because, you know, everybody's nursing, you know, it's the nature of,
and I would imagine
an athletic trainer.
Vocal problems too, I would think.
Oh, 100%. So that's being able to take care of your instrument. And
wow. But that's so encouraging because, I mean, to be 16 and to go through that, like you literally are in your prime, you have your whole life ahead of you, all your dreams, everything that you thought was going to happen. But then like it shatters, but then you see, like you get the opportunity to do something different. And I think that that's so helpful for young people who might be listening. Because a couple, I don't know, episodes ago, we interviewed someone who, when he was 17, like football was his life. And then all of a sudden, like he broke his femur hugely. Oh. And it literally that was the end of that. And it's like, that sounds so like crushing and like how this is impossible for me to keep going in what I love, all that. But to know that for a teenager, but to know that there is something for us, even in the heartbreak and the heartache and the crushing of dreams. Like there is still something, and it's not especially not the end of the world. Yeah. And that's just such a beautiful, it gives hope. And even just your attitude about it, like that's just so helpful. It's inspiring to me. And I know to anyone who might be going through that, or like you said, everyone carries something. So to know that we can go through what we're carrying with, I don't know, we don't have to let it weigh us down, but we can carry it with a confidence and with a strength.
That's so beautiful. Absolutely.
Well, we left you paused in the Gershwin Theater, largest theater on Broadway besides Radio City. Doesn't count, though, because it's not Broadway. And you are in a bubble, in a dress that is covered in sequins and lights, and you're about to be lowered down to start this show. You're the lead actress. They call it co-lead? Lead?
Yeah, co-lead, sure.
Yeah,
co-star.
There you go.
Co-stars.
But you know, but I like this because when all those people for all those years have seen you in that moment, you did what, 1,000 shows?
Something like that. Yeah. God, we got to. I think we got to 11 something.
Okay,
up there.
1,100 shows. You stepped into that bubble 1,100 times. People look at that, but they don't realize that 16-year-old, that snapped kneecap, that's this. What other, between the igniting of a dream and that moment, what other big chapters, if you were chopping it up into stepping stones along the way, what other big keystone moments or memories or phases come to mind?
Wow.
I tell you last time the story about how I auditioned for Wicked 5 or 6 times before I ever did it?
Yes, you told us a little bit about the Greyhound bus, and I would love for you to tell that story.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a big part of this thing.
Yes.
People are like, oh, I want to be in the bubble, but will you get on a Greyhound bus and ride 4 hours every time you audition to get told no? Right? So tell that.
Right. So it was my first audition actually out of college was for Wicked. I think it was for the understudy for tour. And I went in and I sang and I did the scenes and I got a call back to dance and it didn't go my way that time. And then a year later, I sent in a self-tape and nothing happened with that. And then a year after that,
wow.
and all the while I was doing other shows. I did Flashdance the musical, and then I did
Newsies, right? Yeah, Newsies.
Yeah, I did Newsies on tour. I did the Duck Dynasty musical in Las Vegas, and that was a really good time with the Robertsons.
They're the best, by the way.
They are the best.
They're
and they
the
love
best,
you so
by the
much.
way.
They all love you.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I adore them. They're really, really precious.
Which is actually, Ginna Claire, where we met you.
Oh, right.
We met you at Sadie's wedding.
Yes.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh my
I
gosh.
remember I got some shows off to fly down to Louisiana, and Annie F. Downs was my date. I said,
That's when we
"Let's
met
go."
her too.
We met her
gotta
there.
go to Louisiana.
And then, but later I was in New York and I ran into Corey and Willie and they were just singing your praises. Just love you.
So sweet. Corey's someone who, like, you text her, she gets back to you right away. You call her, she picks up. She's there. Like, she's such a wonderful
She's a
present
great mom.
She really is.
friend. Oh, she's incredible. And I played Corey in the show,
Yes.
which was,
Oh my
a
gosh.
lot of pressure to play someone that you look up to so much. But a really good time. And she was so encouraging. So then the next time I auditioned was a year later, and I went through this whole callback period. Ultimately didn't get it. And then this is where things got kind of crazy. A month went by, but I think that it's been a few years at this point.
Okay, but each of these times you're getting on a Greyhound bus and driving for the 4 hour. You're not embellishing that. You don't need to because it's awful. I've been on a Greyhound bus. That's not great. No. You are getting on a bus to drive 4 hours to New York City for each of these auditions, right?
Right. So when my husband and I got married and he was an air traffic controller, he got to pick his top 3 states, and he picked, New York and Tennessee, and I can't remember the third, but New York is a big state. And of course we wanted to be close to New York City, but we got Binghamton, New York, which has a really great Wegmans. If you know, you know. But it is, not close to Manhattan by any means. It could have been further. There are further places.
Yeah, there's
New York.
There's Canada places like right at the border up there that would be further, right?
Right, Lake Placid. Could have been up in Lake Placid.
Yep.
But yeah, so every time I would come into the city for an audition, it was a 4-hour Greyhound bus ride. So a month after I'd heard no, sort of that third round, I had flown to Nashville to see my family, and I was on the way to the dentist. I think I had a cavity. Brush your teeth, kids. And I got a call from my agent, and they were like, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm in Nashville. I'm seeing my family. He was like, "Can you be on Skype in an hour?" And I said, shh. Yeah, what's going on? And they said the music director of Wicked on Broadway wanted to Skype with me, which I was confused about. But it turns out like the person they had hired for the standby gig for Broadway wasn't able to do it. And they were kind of shuffling to find the right fit for this particular track at this particular time. So I canceled my appointment, turned around, threw on a dress in my parents' office at home, and I'm on Skype, and I'm FaceTiming with Brian Perry, who's like legendary Broadway music director.
Wow.
And he was like, "Great. And I need you to sing the opening number. Ready, go."
Oh, that's an intense song.
Mind you, Levi. For any Wicked fans here, if you could just sing the opening number a cappella.
It's the Wicked don't get remembered.
Let us speak loud. Yeah, no one mourns.
No one
the
grieves
wicked.
the wicked. No one mourns the wicked. Yeah.
So that is a tricky song to sing a cappella.
A cappella.
It's a tricky song.
No
It's a tricky
metronome,
song
no track.
to sing. Period. But yeah, and it just goes to show you everyone's journey to Broadway is a little bit different.
You got tossed into a pit with lions on that Zoom call.
Dang.
And then after that, they brought me in a few days later, and I got to do all the material again. And they had me sight read a song that wasn't in the audition packet, and they had like a camera on me. And I was like, "Oh."
Did you find yourself having to fight to stay calm in that moment when they're like, "Hey, we also
100%.
want you to sing this one," and you're like, "That wasn't in the part of the deal."
Right. And my piece of advice there for Broadway hopefuls is if you have a dream role that already exists, The resources are out there. The script is out there. The score is out there. Just go ahead and learn the whole thing. Just learn it. So that when they throw something at you in the final callback last minute, you already know it. You're ready.
Amazing.
So I wish I had done that. But it worked out. It worked out. So, but I think that was technically my like 5th or 6th time auditioning for it. And then when I went out on tour to play the role full time, I actually auditioned again. So there was a lot of wicketing.
And you were the standby. You mentioned standby. You were the standby for a long time, right?
I started as the standby on Broadway, which means like you're on the bench, you're off stage. When I say off stage, I mean on the couch in a dressing room, just chilling in your sweats.
In case someone breaks their kneecap.
Hopefully no one breaks their kneecap, but you're like first line. So there's standby and understudy. Standby is just off stage, ready to go on if you need them. And an understudy is sort of would go on if the standby couldn't go on, and they're in the show every night. So they're usually have an ensemble track.
But they know all the pieces if they have to.
Totally.
Wow. And how long were you the standby?
I did the standby for 16 months, and it never stopped being terrifying. I have so much respect for understudies and swings and standbys because it's a hard job. In those tracks in particular, I mean, Elphaba standby, I've seen girls like get painted green real quick in the middle of a show to go
so
on.
sometimes the person will start but get sick or something halfway through?
Or be like, you know what, I just sang Wizard and I, and that didn't go the way I wanted it to go, and I still have to sing 2 more huge 11 o'clock numbers. I'm going to peace out now, and then they could get someone ready.
How many times did you go on when you were in the standby for that 20 months? Or did you say 16 months?
That's a good question, Levi. I went on, I think, 26 times, which if you do the math, which maybe you could do better than me.
It's 8 a week, right?
8 a week. Yeah. So for 16 months.
Just almost under 500 shows.
So for 500 something shows, I was just hanging out backstage, which was wild because I'm like, I got my dream role? Question mark. Ish. It's Broadway is happening on the other side of that wall.
I'm here.
And yet here I am playing Angry Birds at the moment.
Oh my gosh, it was when Pokemon Go got really popular. But I have a built-in friend because the Elphaba standby, and I shared a dressing room with her and whoever was playing Nessa Rose, and we had the best time.
Okay, this is great. So much fun. See, and this is one of the reasons I love talking to people who are at the top of their craft is that there's always a harder journey to getting there, which is why it's always such a mistake to be jealous of anybody, because you're jealous of where they're at now, not for sure the process. And a lot, if you're doing the math, that's 8 hours of Greyhound times 5. That's that's 500 shows not going on. That's a lot of no's. That's a lot of living in Binghamton. That's a lot of am I in the wrong line of work? It's easy to watch Macy's Day Parade and go, well, sure, must be nice. He must have always but it's not just about talent. That's God-given. It's about skill, and you clearly have done the hard yards of refining and honing your skill. The advice you just gave to people in memorizing the whole thing, that's a skill thing. Yeah. So you don't strike me as someone who's coasted on talent. You've done the work of refining your skill.
That's a good way to put it.
Thanks, Levi. Appreciate it. I do think the journey is not a straight path. It's sort of circuitous.
Did you get discouraged ever in those 500 shows?
Oh, 100%. Totally. You have those days, but something that was cool, the opportunity that presented itself is because I wasn't doing 8 shows a week and I was living in New York City for the first time. I got to be part of like some really cool workshops, and I got to sing in some cool concerts and meet some fun people and do things that had I been doing 8 shows a week, you can't do, because all you have to do is take care of yourself and protect your voice and preserve your energy.
Right.
Now, is there a contract? Were you still able to audition for other things while that was happening? Or is it like you're tied in for a certain period of time? You're
totally welcome to. I mean, yes, I was on a contract, but you can definitely audition for things, and you have certain outs, so.
And is that when you audition for Frozen?
I did audition for Frozen. Yeah. A number of times.
Which role?
Who do you think?
Well, I mean.
Anna.
No, I don't think Elsa. I think Elsa.
I would say Anna, because you have a funness about you.
Elsa's fun.
See,
She's just fun in a mean, killing everybody kind of way. You auditioned for Anna.
I auditioned for Anna. Yeah.
Yeah, but wouldn't The Cold Never Bother Me anyway be a fun song to sing?
Totally. That'd be a hard song to sing. It would
Yes.
definitely be fun though.
Okay, so then you get 26 times on at bat. Were there ever times when you went on halfway through the show, or was it always from start to finish?
Always from start to finish. I never did a mid show. It's called a witch switch.
Oh,
I never.
my gosh.
Great.
I never did a witch
amazing.
switch, which is I'm glad. It's nice to get to do the journey beginning to end. There was one time where it looked like I was going to go on in the middle and sort of started to get ready, and then girlfriend pulled through, which was great. You always want, you hope that you're going on because someone's going to a wedding or a baby shower or something, not because they're feeling ill.
In your 1,100 shows as Glinda, did you ever have to have your understudy or standby go on halfway through?
Good question.
That is a good question. Almost once, but no.
Wow.
Did you ever have moments so what was that time, the almost time?
The almost time was actually not too long ago. It was just a few months. It was near I think it was the last week of my show. The last week that I was doing the show, my voice was bothering me, and I'm very protective of my voice, but also very critical, I guess. I want it to be just right. I want it to be a certain way. And when you've done something so many times, you know what it's supposed to be, and you know how it's supposed to feel. So if something doesn't feel right or good, it just kind of puts you on high alert.
Yeah.
So
It's good
Did you
stuff.
ever have anyone do be your understudy like for the whole thing, or you did every single one?
oh, totally.
No, she just hasn't done a witch switch.
Oh, okay.
No witch switches, but I did, go on vacations and go to weddings
Yeah.
every once in a while, and that was fun. So then I went on tour. My first contract was 5 months, and then I got extended a few times and ended up touring for almost 2 years, which was
Gosh.
Yeah, because you
Wild.
did
And that's where
the
I met
Wicked on
Mary-Kate.
tour, actually performing in the lead role
Right.
after the standby gig.
yes, that's correct.
And so that must have been fun. What was your favorite place you guys set up camp and went?
Oh man, that's a hard question. Well, I got to play my hometown, Nash Vegas, which was a ball. To go back and play my dream role in my hometown was definitely a full circle moment. In the theater where I grew up seeing touring productions. But I loved, my favorite cities were probably the cities where we got to stay the longest, sort of like the 7 to
You
9.
guys did a long one in Chicago, right?
Yep, we did 9 weeks, I think, in Chicago. I think we did 9 weeks in Toronto. That was really fun. I loved San Antonio, Texas.
Oh.
San Antonio was one of my favorite spots. Mary-Kate is in Omaha right now with Mean Girls, and we were just sending pictures back and forth of when we were in Omaha. Omaha was a city that surprised me. I could not believe how much fun we had in Omaha.
Interesting.
But yeah, I loved being on the road. I think it's a really good time. I actually think the show is harder to do on tour than it is to do on Broadway. Because when you're doing the show in one place, you get to go home and sleep in your own bed every night, and you have sort of more control over everything, even if it's just the humidity levels of your home, if you're protecting your voice, or
Were you guys in
your gym, or your
hotels when you were on the road?
the first few tours I did, I was always in hotels. But with Wicked, since we had sort of longer sit downs, I prioritized trying to always find an Airbnb, just because in terms of having control over things, I really wanted a kitchen where I could cook meals and not have to rely on going out all the time, because turns out you feel better if you cook healthy food for yourself at home. So
Totally.
just wanting that fuel to be able to fuel myself in that way and have access to a kitchen, Airbnbs was the way to go for me.
Okay, so you were on tour, and then was your husband simultaneously flying?
No, he was ATC then.
So he was ATC, and
Okay.
it was actually when we were in Toronto when he called me. Have you
Said,
guys
honey,
read the...
honey, I now be a pilot.
I am a
pilot.
pilot. I'm a pilot. Have you read the book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo?
Yes.
Okay, so
The religious manual on
I love
Buddhism.
it.
Yes.
I Eric was reading it when I was in Toronto, and then I started reading it, and it's really cool because it's cleaning out your house, it's going through your things, memorabilia, clothes,
hugging them
et cetera.
goodbye. Thank you for the memories.
Yes.
Thank you. You bring me joy.
Does this spark joy?
Does this spark joy? But at the end of the book, she says many people, after going through my program, find that either they reinvest in the work that they're doing or end up changing gears completely. And Eric would say the timing was just coincidental. But after he Marie Kondoed, and it was that week or the week after that he said, I don't think I want to be an air traffic controller anymore. And he'd been an air traffic controller for like 5 or 6 years and had finished his training and, gone through this really crazy, rigorous process, and to leave, a secure government job to go do something totally new and go back to school.
Square one.
To me,
because he probably had some seniority at that point, right?
Right. So I felt really excited and was definitely like, you have supported me on the road to my crazy dream. If this is your dream, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And so I'm on the road.
How good is she?
I know.
He picked up and moved us from New York to New Jersey so he could be closer to the place where he was going to be training. So like I never even saw that apartment again. He picked a new place. He picked a new place for us to live.
And that's when you actually finally moved to Manhattan, right?
We were in Westchester at the time. We were in New Rochelle, and then we moved out to New Jersey.
To New Jersey, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we're just on the other side of the Hudson. So yeah, that was a wild. Did I answer the question? What was the question?
I don't know.
That's a good
I don't know what my question was, but I feel like that takes a special couple to. I mean, I guess you guys were already doing long distance.
I think she was
college when you
asking
met.
about your maintaining connection while you were on tour. That's what the original question was.
Yeah, I don't know if I actually asked it, but like because that seems like that would be a difficult thing, like to be married, but then to be on the road and in the air, or I guess he wasn't in the air technically at the time, but like that just seems like a hard situation.
Totally. With the first tour I did, we tried to see each other every 3 weeks.
Wow.
And that was hard. And then the next tour we did, we said, let's do every other week because
3 weeks is
it's hard.
A long time.
And then the next show I did, the Vegas one, that was, we said, let's do every week. And so that meant Eric was flying from Bingham to New York to Las Vegas every week, which meant he was usually only there for like less than 24 hours. But it was just the way we prioritize things to make it possible for that season of life.
No, that's funny. I heard Robert Downey Jr. say that when he does a movie, he will never go more than 3 weeks without being with his wife because he has that written into his contracts, everything, because some neurobiologist talked about how your brains are so lazy. Our brains are so lazy. They're always looking for ways to save time. So they'll adjust to anything. And after 3 weeks, you'll adjust to now singleness. Essentially, your brain shifts into this is now what I view as normal. And so they would never let 3 weeks go without having a break back. And so it's interesting to hear you say that that was also you guys' number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every week was, and so then we kept that when we went to the Wicked tour. So he was coming out almost every, if something crazy came up, we might skip one, but we would try to do every single week, which made it easier, but it's still hard, especially on the road and being in survival mode and transitioning, back and forth. But it was definitely a labor of love on his part to spend a lot of time on planes. Maybe that's what inspired him to be a pilot.
That's interesting.
Right.
I'm going to fly my own plane so I can go see my wife.
Right.
Did you feel when you got the role that you had wanted since you were a little girl? A sense of, yes, finally? Or was there any disillusionment? Like, now I'm in it, but was there any, I'm in the bubble now, but did it feel different than you expected it to feel?
When I was the standby or when
when you took the lead role, the show, as I believe it's called.
The show.
I'm just wondering, I'm just curious if it had been a thing. At times I think we all as humans can build things up to be something. I know you weren't looking for it to fill an emptiness in you, but was there a sense of like, oh crap, this is going to be a lot more work than I thought it was going to be now, 8 shows a week, all that? Or what kind of kicked in you?
Absolutely. Especially having done it as the standby for so long, to be like, finally my chance. And it was really hard adjusting to the road. There's the element of traveling, and then also, meeting a whole new company of people and building new chemistry and bonds. And then also the show was so hard. It was such a big thing. It's so physically demanding. So a couple things. First of all, the gal who was playing Glinda on Broadway, who's a dear friend and now like a neighbor of mine, I adore her. Her name's Cara Lindsay. I can't say enough good things about her. But I remember calling her a few weeks into my contract being like, okay, Act 1, great. Things are going really well. Act 2, halfway through, I feel like I'm dying. What is happening? And she said, are you eating snacks? What? Snacks? That's the answer, is snacks. And I think it turns out I was eating just the normal number of calories that I thought a Ginna Claire needed, and not the amount of calories that you need when you're playing Glinda 8 times a week, which is more. Turns out. More. So I became like the snack queen on tour, and if people needed snacks, you could come to my room.
So even in between songs, would you be off stage snacking?
I started trying to get a snack after Popular. And that would sort of carry you through to intermission. And then at intermission, you could get a snack. And then when the wizard sings Wonderful in Act 2, that's also a really good snack time. My dresser on Broadway, who I adore, her name is Tracy. She's amazing. After Popular, this was on Broadway most recently, but she would have a snack plate made for me. And every day it was something different, but usually like some cut up apple slices and some avocado. I mean, I would bring things in, but she'd always prepare like a little snack plate for me.
Is that a bit like a NASCAR tire change when you're in between songs having...
Wait, I don't know if this is too much information, but you have sort of like a corset that you wear, and I was known to like stick apple slices.
That's really funny.
That's amazing.
I am happy to report that no apple slices ever fell out.
But that's interesting to think about. Yeah, that's funny. You think someone would be like, oh, I'm failing, I'm not good enough. It's like, no, you actually just need a handy snack. You know what I mean? Like I was talking to my daughter Olivia, but like with tennis, like having a goo in between sets, just having those in your mood, your sense of how's the world going. It could just be dehydrated. It could be a simple explanation, not the complicated.
You might just be hangry. Yeah, yes. You're just hangry.
Just keep some food in the glove compartment. Between meetings, have something to eat. Look at what you're taking in, right?
That's so good.
Absolutely. Fuels your outward activity. And apples are very refreshing.
Yeah, that's true.
Hydrating even. So
yes.
Wow. And I would imagine, when I saw you drinking water like a camel.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Chugging. All day, every day.
The little things to take care of your voice. You were going to say something. Sorry.
Something about how hard it was being on tour. Oh, okay. So having toured previously, it's really fun because when you're on the road, the tour is your family. And I was used to like after the show, we'd go get a meal or you'd hang out. And I was kind of used to that being the rhythm of tour life. And I am a social, more extroverted person, and I really enjoy doing that kind of thing. And I think something that was jarring to me, which I kind of touched on earlier, was that sort of the isolation that's required. It's like, do you want to do 8 shows a week? Do you want to do all the shows? Yeah, I'd love to do all the shows. Okay, what does that mean? That means you need to go to bed right away if you can. It means you need to sleep as long as you can. That means you can't go out. That means you definitely can't go to, a loud restaurant or bar or somewhere where you have to raise your voice. So like, what are you eating? What are you drinking? So everything, I felt like I went into not low power mode during the day, but kind of, but sort of just like a self-preservation mode. And
it's called sacrifice. It's the sacrifice that's required. It's the reality of the dream versus the idealization of the expectation,
that's
right?
Good.
Right.
Wow.
And sort of, I mean, the loneliness of that sometimes, of being like, oh, I'm in Oklahoma City and I'm by myself but sometimes singing and dancing in front of 2,000 people, and then sometimes just totally, sort of just, taking care of yourself. And then when Mary Kate came out on the road, she kind of became my buddy in isolation, because we were totally content just drinking tea and gargling salt water and watching old childhood movie faves together on the couch. So
That's amazing.
But see, the expectation for someone might be, when I make it big, then I'm going to be popular around town, all these things. And you're saying, and I heard Hugh Jackman say the same thing on Tim Ferriss's podcast. You know, you think Hugh Jackman, he's Wolverine. He's like, what do you do after a show? And it's like, he was like, I would do a puzzle. I sit there doing a puzzle because it's the only thing that can unwind me and bring me down from the intensity. And it's like, to think about the juxtaposition of the intensity of a performance, but now having to find a way to be at your best, to do it again 7 more times this week.
Right. So when Mary Kate came out on tour, I remember confiding in her early on in her contract. I'd already been out on the road for 6 months. And I said, you know, I feel so selfish because I want to be part of the company in this social way, and I want to do these things. And I feel like I'm just thinking about myself all the time. I'm thinking about my voice and what am I going to eat and how am I going to do this show? And she said, that's not selfish at all. People are counting on you, and you have to take care of yourself. And so that was kind of that for me, I think, a healthy mental switch, and I think something that helped me.
That's a word to some moms and dads. That's a word to some moms and dads, some husbands and wives out there. A lot of people just thinking like, you're actually going to be better for your kids if you go get that pedicure. Better for your staff if you take that day off, you know?
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, I wanted to be a leader in the company, and I wanted to show up and do my job and do it well. And that was definitely a priority to me. So you just have to plan accordingly.
Yeah. Gosh.
Life after Glinda. What's that like? 1,100 shows. I mean, 3.5 years with the company prior to being in the role, then the 1,100 shows in the role. Now, do you miss her?
It's a very fresh time to ask the question because we're right off of, I just finished filming a couple weeks ago. So it was interesting going right from Wicked into filming because I think I was a little bit in denial. It just kind of felt like, oh, I'm going to go back and do that thing that I've been doing for 6 years. Gosh. But it's funny you asked that. My associate director called me last week from Wicked. She was like, do you miss it? Yes, Lisa, I miss it.
I didn't even actually get to close that wound up yet. I'm still grieving it. I'm sure it was an emotional goodbye, but it probably helped that you didn't get your last show. You kind of left early. Probably helped that a little bit, like Michael Scott sneaking out before Pam and Jim and Dwight can cry, right?
I don't know if it helped. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. I think you know what? I think it was going to be hard regardless in some ways.
You ripped the Band-Aid off?
Yeah. I am just now sort of settling into this new rhythm. I finished filming and I went and saw my parents and Eric's parents, who were hanging out together in Florida because our parents love each other, which is awesome.
Oh my gosh.
And so
you do have a 9-month-old baby too.
I do. Yeah, he just turned 10 months and he's the best little guy. And so being home, I saw my friend Sam. He was my Fiero on Broadway. I went to his solo show a couple of nights ago, and that was really wonderful just to watch my friends shine, but also sort of inspiring me to be like, okay, even though I'm in this new rhythm, which is fantastic, of like, I want to work out every day, and I love cooking, and I love being with my baby, and I love spending time in God's Word in the morning in a way that wasn't possible, or maybe I just didn't prioritize for it enough when I was doing 8 shows a week. There's just an opportunity to do things that I couldn't do before, and I'm really enjoying it even more than I thought I would, having sort of time and space for social activities and things that I want to do and trips that I want to take, and so that's all good. But then too, seeing this friend show and feeling like I need to still prioritize, even if just once a week, I need to do something creative, and that could be anything. That could be, Eric, pick up your guitar and let's just sing through some songs, or going into the city and doing a voice lesson with my teacher, who I love, or writing a song with Cooper. Just doing something that's creative. And I don't think that's a me artist thing. I think that's an everybody thing. I think God is creative, and He's our creator, and He created us to be creative. So Amen. I think that fills you up. I don't know if you've ever heard of the book, The Artist's Way. I can't say that I've finished it yet, but it's sort of I have it right here.
Is that a good one? We'll write that down.
Yeah, it's a good book for inspiring creativity and sort of a guide. But it
looks like a thick book too. Also,
if you sing and dance, but also if you're a lawyer or it could be for anybody.
Wow.
This has been a good conversation.
It's been so good.
I feel like it's been inspiring for everybody.
Speaking of books,
Ooh.
that's something I always wanted to do. Like I always wanted more time and space to read books. And so I have a stack of a few books that I'm like, I can't wait to dig into this.
Time and space to read books?
Time and space.
Space.
And I'm also listening to a sermon series that you did last fall that I'm loving. I just got a whole education about the railroads.
The Transcontinental Railroad.
Transcontinental Railroad.
So
and I was thinking about it when you were talking about speeding up the planes over the country. It's like if Abraham Lincoln could see us now.
If Abraham Lincoln could see us now is the sentence.
I'm so excited for you to read that book.
I do have a sermon I would have to send you a link to. I don't know if we still have it on YouTube for your husband where I talk about air traffic control.
Really?
It's a whole
Please
sermon.
do.
I'm trying to remember what it was called. Waypoints of Wonder is what it's called.
Wait, okay, I'm writing
Because
it down.
air traffic controllers, it was in the series Wild Blue Yonder, but air traffic controllers, they have different, of course, airport codes like, FCA or JFK or LAX, but then there's also routes like to go here, 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 and there's Easter eggs built into that, where this waypoint maybe spells something or something really funny. And like that would be a nod to Charlie Brown or Snoopy because it's going to the Charles Schultz Airport in Sonoma. And I talk about some of these funny ones across the country. Anyhow, it's a whole sermon, and I do show some of the video footage of the air traffic control stuff.
I wrote it down. I've got it.
I'll send it to you.
And then there's another one in the series. I'll send you the first one. The first one I showed some of that sped up footage too, by the way. Anyhow, of that series, The Wild Blue Yonder.
That's awesome.
Your husband's former life. But
we love podcasts, so It's really cool. I know we don't get to attend in person, but it's cool to get to feel like I get to be part of your teaching virtually. So thank you for, this podcast, but thank you for taking the time to do podcasts. I think that's really special and important and gives resources to people all over the world, which is really rad.
Yeah.
Well, Ginna Claire Mason, this has been fabulous.
It's been so great. Thank you for spending time with us and sharing your heart. You have a beautiful heart, beautiful smile, and you just live beautifully. And we're so thankful for you in this world.
Thank you so much. This was such a treat, and thank you for giving me a second chance on the technological level. And thank you for your patience, and I hope I can come out and visit you guys.
Yes,
likewise.
The Luskos are always welcome here in Jersey / New York City. We'd love to host you.
We will come and see a play together. Because
let's go see a play.
We'll see several, but the girls have still never seen Wicked, so we'll have to do that. Have you? How will that be to go? How will it be to go watch it again?
Oh, I want to. I'm trying to find a time to get back soon, either in New York or on the tour. I still have a lot of friends on the road, so I would. Oh my goodness, I would love to go see it again.
And we can't wait to see what God has for you next.
Yes.
It'll be amazing. Yes. So until then,
thank you so much. Love you guys.
Right.
Love you.
Thank you so much for listening. And be sure to swing by LeviLusko.com to see what's going on in our world, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. In the meantime, we would love to connect with you on social media. Jenny and Levi Lusko, out.